Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor. From 161 until 180. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic thinkers in history, ruled as Roman emperor. History acknowledges his reign as the conclusion of the period known as the Five Good Emperors. Aurelius vowed to live by the values of justice, fairness, and morality, even though he was in one of the most influential positions of his day. His decision to maintain a moral life in spite of having access to all the joys and temptations that may corrupt a leader is what really sets his life apart. Marcus Aurelius encountered several internal and external difficulties throughout his rule. Nevertheless, he managed to find time to write a collection of introspective notes called Meditations. Since then, these writings have established themselves as classic works in the Stoic philosophy, providing enduring guidance on emotional fortitude and human growth. Aurelius exhorts readers to embrace a cosmic viewpoint, critically assess their own conclusions, and persevere in the face of difficulty in meditations. Applying Stoic concepts to stress management, Aurelius emerged as a confident and capable king amidst challenges facing his empire. His lessons provide insightful guidance on managing our emotions and making positive life changes. These are Marcus Aurelius's 8 most important teachings on handling emotions. Lesson 1: Train your perception. The words of Marcus Aurelius are, "Choose not to be hurt, and you will not be hurt." The notion that we have power over our perception of the outside world is one of the key tenets of Stoicism. We often develop the bad habit of continuously criticizing everything that occurs in our everyday lives, every scenario, every person we meet, and every occurrence. Things are categorized as either good, awful, thrilling, dull, beautiful, or ugly. Although this is an instinctive and normal reaction, it may be draining and have unfavorable effects. If you, for instance, call every difficult moment of your day terrible, you'll wind up having a negative outlook on the day as a whole. Comparably, you're likely to think the party is a waste of time if you declare it to be boring from the outset. These decisions are often influenced by our emotions, which makes them less logical and more instinctive. The Stoics advise us to question our first impressions. Instead of taking our first reactions at face value, we need to make an effort to assess circumstances in a more impartial and constructive manner. For example, you may regard a boring section of a party as a chance to meet new people or try out various discussions rather than as a waste of time. You may attract more pleasant events into your life by letting go of negative expectations. Aurelius tells us that our perception of the events is what bothers us, not the events themselves. We may lessen the effects of unpleasant events and create a more tranquil, balanced existence by changing the way we see things. This change in viewpoint not only benefits our mental health, but also strengthens our bonds with other people because we approach conversations with more empathy and understanding. Lesson 2: Embrace the virtues. It was reportedly remarked by Marcus Aurelius, "Look within, within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up." If you will dig, the Stoic philosophy views virtues as character superpowers. These are ethically correct behaviors that are advantageous to everyone around us, as well as to ourselves. The interdependence of all things was held by the Stoics. They maintained that an individual is also benefiting from what is beneficial for the group. Living a moral life is both a personal obligation and a way to improve society as a whole. On the other hand, the Stoics believed that immorality was a sign of ignorance. Virtues are guiding principles that help us navigate unanticipated hurdles in life. They assist us in resolving conflicts in a cool, collected manner. 4 cardinal qualities were recognized by the Stoics: courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. The capacity to discriminate between good, bad, and neutral is a necessary component of wisdom. It necessitates putting reason above emotion in our decision-making. Wisdom is the source of justice, which is about treating others and ourselves fairly. The Stoics considered justice to be the highest virtue, and doing unjustly was the same as doing evil. Having courage is being able to tackle obstacles and worries head-on, even when the result is unknown. It is the choice to act in spite of dread rather than the absence of fear. Moderation, sometimes called temperance, is the capacity to preserve equilibrium and self-control while avoiding extremes. It prioritizes long-term health above ephemeral enjoyment. These qualities foster a calm and collected state of mind, in addition to enhancing personal character. By modeling these characteristics in our behavior, we improve the lives of others around us, promote compassion and respect for one another, and help create a more peaceful atmosphere. Lesson 3: Utilize the duality of control. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have control over your mind, not outside events." When you acknowledge this, you'll discover resilience at the heart of Stoic philosophy is the idea of the duality of control. It is learning to distinguish between the things that we can and cannot control. We have no influence over outside variables like the climate, traffic, or other people's viewpoints. We do, however, have power over the decisions, mindsets, and behaviors we adopt. It's critical to accept what we cannot control and to concentrate on the things we can manage when confronted with emotionally intense circumstances. This strategy promotes a more balanced lifestyle and increases resilience. Amor fati, or the love of fate, is a Stoic concept that urges us to accept life as it comes, despite the difficulties it may provide. For instance, it's normal to feel let down if you don't get your ideal job. But instead of seeing it as a setback, think about the lessons you may take away from it. If there were aspects of the failure that you could have controlled, such as inadequate planning, you may address those areas and give it another go. Accepting the result might help you avoid needless aggravation if it was the result of outside circumstances beyond your control. We find inner peace and a greater appreciation for life's journey when we concentrate on the things we can control and accept the things we cannot. This kind of thinking not only promotes personal development but also lets us live in the now without unduly worrying about the future. Lesson 4: take a more comprehensive view. Invoking Plato's insight, Marcus Aurelius said, "Take a panoramic view and see everything at once. Having a more expansive viewpoint is essential for improving mental clarity, particularly when dealing with obstacles. When faced with challenges, we often experience feelings of being overburdened and as if the whole world is pressing down on us. But when we take a step back and consider the wider picture, we may see how little our issues really are in the greater scheme of things. This change in viewpoint enables us to let go of our ego by realizing that the world is far bigger than ourselves and that nothing revolves around us. We are able to look beyond our current problems and make better judgments when we have a wider perspective. It also pushes us to think about how our activities affect other people and the environment. We learn more about our place in the world and how each of our individual activities affects the well-being of the whole by widening our perspective. Lesson 5: gain emotional self-control. Marcus Aurelius counsels us to give up lying, selfishness, and irritability, and cautions against allowing emotions to rule our ideas. Impulsive behavior driven by emotions often runs counter to a reasoned and analytical strategy. Our emotions have the ability to warp how we see the world, which may result in bad choices and needless suffering. According to Stoicism, regulating our emotions so they don't impair our judgment rather than repressing them is what it means to regulate them. For instance, managing strong feelings of rage, as those sparked by betrayal, entails recognizing them but not allowing them to rule your behavior. In particular, Aurelius warns against rage, pointing out that it does more damage than good. Gaining emotional self-control may help us stay focused and face life's obstacles with composure and reason, which will improve our results and help us live a more balanced existence. These timeless teachings from Marcus Aurelius promote emotional fortitude and personal development. Applying these Stoic precepts may help us face life's obstacles with discernment, bravery, and inner serenity, which will eventually result in a more purposeful and happy life. Just momentarily stifles the feeling, letting it fester under the surface and maybe doing greater damage in the future. The Stoics, on the other hand, support analyzing the causes of our emotions and making decisions about how to deal with them in order to comprehend and control them. For instance, when we are furious, we need to stop and consider the source of our anger before acting on it. Which wish or anticipation was unfulfilled? Often, we may lessen the intensity of the feeling by figuring out what's going on below. Marcus Aurelius thought that we might better regulate our emotions and make more informed decisions about how to respond if we could only acknowledge them without passing judgment. Marcus further underlined how crucial it is to recognize what is and is not within our control. Emotions, especially unpleasant ones, often result from our connection to other factors, such as other people's behavior, the course of events, or even our own wants. We may guard against being unduly impacted by outside events by acknowledging that we have no control over them. This does not imply that we become apathetic. Rather, it means that we face life with fortitude and inner serenity, realizing that our mental health is independent of our surroundings. Being aware of oneself and practicing self-reflection are useful strategies for managing emotions. We become more conscious of the triggers that set off emotional reactions when we routinely reflect on our thoughts and emotions. We can predict and regulate our emotions before they go out of hand because to this knowledge. Daily introspection was a habit for Marcus Aurelius, who often recorded his analysis of his ideas and actions in his meditations in an effort to bring them into line with Stoic ideals. The exercise of temperance, or moderation, is another crucial component of emotional regulation. The Stoics believe that we may sustain a stable emotional state by practicing moderation in our wants and deeds. For example, we should aim for a moderate ground, enjoying what we have without being too attached or hostile to anything, rather than indulging in excessive joys or responding with severe dislike to suffering. In this sense, managing our emotions involves comprehension, restraint, and deliberate action rather than repression or denial. The goal is to reach a condition of emotional balance in which we are neither readily influenced by our emotions nor unaffected by the environment. We may better our connections with others and our personal well-being by developing emotional self-control. We develop more empathy, tolerance, and compassion so that we can react to other people without acting on impulse. Stoic philosophy places great emphasis on emotional mastery, which is necessary for living a moral and satisfying life. Lesson number 6: exercise acceptance and gratitude. Marcus Aurelius often thought about how fleeting life is and how important it is to learn acceptance and thankfulness. Realizing that everything in life is transient and susceptible to change, he counseled us to accept the natural flow of events and be grateful for what we have. Marcus believed that being gratitude included not only recognizing and enjoying the good things in life, but also seeing the worth of obstacles and suffering. By seeing challenges as chances for development and education, we may change our viewpoint and give each experience purpose. This kind of thinking not only makes us more resilient, but also makes it easier for us to be optimistic in the face of difficulty. On the other hand, acceptance entails acknowledging and accepting the reality of the current instant. It entails finding serenity in the present moment and letting go of opposition to the things we cannot alter. According to Marcus Aurelius, a large portion of human misery results from our inability to accept reality as it is rather than from our desire for a new world. We may develop inner peace and release ourselves from needless emotional upheaval by engaging in acceptance practices. Marcus often reminded himself to be thankful for the people, things, and even the difficulties in life during his meditations. He realized that everything that happens to us is a part of our journey toward development, and that we may lead more fulfilled lives if we embrace and value every moment as it comes. Think about making it a daily habit to think back on the things you have to be grateful for, no matter how little, in order to develop gratitude. By adopting this one practice, you may change your attention from what you lack to the wealth that is already present in your life. It promotes satisfaction and delight and aids in bringing you back to the present. In a similar vein, acknowledge that not everything is within your control and cultivate acceptance. Rather than giving in or whining, try to see obstacles and setbacks as chances to exercise forbearance, fortitude, and discernment. You may get a greater knowledge and appreciation of the world around you by accepting life as it is, rather than how you would want it to be. In conclusion, the eternal lessons of Marcus Aurelius teach us how to handle life's challenges with grace, resiliency, and wisdom. We may live more fulfilled lives that are also more in line with our greatest ideals by developing virtues, controlling our emotions, widening our viewpoint, cultivating appreciation and acceptance, and training our perception. These teachings, which have their roots in Stoic philosophy, provide a potent foundation for emotional health and personal development, and point us in the direction of a life filled with meaning, purpose, and inner serenity. Lesson number 7: develop resilience in the face of adversity. Throughout his life, Marcus Aurelius encountered many difficulties, including personal losses, political intrigue, and the rigors of leading a large empire. He nonetheless persisted in adhering to the tenets of Stoicism in the face of suffering, utilizing it as an opportunity to develop fortitude and tenacity. Marcus defined resilience as actively turning setbacks into chances for one's own development, rather than just overcoming them. He believed that obstacles are an unavoidable aspect of life, and that how we handle them shapes who we are as a person. Marcus often discussed the value of seeing setbacks as opportunities to practice virtue and fortify oneself inside his meditations. The Stoic idea of amor fati, or the love of destiny, is one of the most important tools for developing resilience. This concept inspires us to accept everything that occurs as a necessary component of the universe's natural order, good or evil. Our circumstances are something we should embrace wholeheartedly and even find delight in, instead of fighting against or moaning about. Adversity may be used as an ally to strengthen our determination and expand our comprehension of both the self and the outside world, if we embrace this mentality. Perseverance is a discipline that is crucial to resilience. Marcus Aurelius recognized that hardships are a common part of life, and that perseverance in the face of adversity is the real measure of strength. He inspired others and himself to go on when things seemed hopeless or overwhelming. We can reach our objectives and reach our full potential if we stay on course and don't let failure deter us. Marcus also underlined how crucial adaptation is to building resilience. The dynamic nature of life necessitates the capacity to adjust to novel situations in order to preserve our balance. This calls for adaptability in our thinking and the readiness to modify our plans and expectations as circumstances demand. We may overcome obstacles with more ease and assurance if we have an open mind and accept change as a normal part of life. The technique of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of ills, is one useful strategy for fostering resilience. In order to practice Stoicism, one must psychologically prepare for any obstacles or failures in advance. By anticipating potential challenges, we may lessen their emotional effect and cultivate a proactive attitude. This isn't about moping over bad things that could happen, but rather preparing ourselves to deal with them coolly and collectedly when they occur. Including this exercise in your regular routine will help you develop more resilience to hardship. For instance, spend a few minutes thinking about the difficulties you could face and how you would handle them before you begin your day. You may teach your mind to be composed and concentrated in the face of unforeseen difficulties by practicing this. Taking care of your physical and emotional health is another aspect of resilience. Marcus Aurelius understood that in order to successfully navigate life's obstacles, physical and mental well-being were essential. Getting enough sleep, engaging in mindfulness exercises, and exercising on a regular basis may all help you recover from setbacks and persevere through hardship. To sum up, one of the main lessons from Marcus Aurelius' teachings is learning to be resilient in the face of hardship. We may cultivate the inner strength required to handle life's ups and downs by seeing obstacles as chances for improvement, exercising tenacity, adaptability, and anticipating prospective problems. Adversity survival is just one aspect of resilience. Another is flourishing in its face and using it as a springboard for introspection. Lesson number 8: set an example for others. Marcus Aurelius understood well the duties that accompanied his role as emperor. He thought that genuine leadership was about modeling virtue for others to follow, not about giving orders to others. His leadership style was based on honesty, humility, and a strong feeling of responsibility to the larger good. Marcus was aware that those around him would be influenced by his deeds more than his words, knowing that by living a life exemplifying the Stoic values of knowledge, justice, bravery, and temperance, he may encourage others to follow in his footsteps. According to him, the main responsibilities of a leader are to serve the people, look out for their welfare, and help them lead more moral and satisfying lives. The exercise of self-discipline is one of the most important components of setting a good example. Marcus Aurelius was renowned for leading a Spartan lifestyle and being dedicated to his own development. He understood that in order to lead people successfully, a leader must first master himself. This required him to continually monitor his ideas, deeds, and wants and work to bring them into line with his values. Another essential component of Marcus' leadership philosophy was humility. He never thought of himself as superior to others, even though he held a position of great authority. Since he was well aware of his own shortcomings, he made an effort to maintain his modesty and sense of reality. Because of his humility, he was able to establish personal connections with others and win their respect and trust. Additionally, Marcus Aurelius stressed the need of empathy in leadership. Making just and equitable judgments, in his opinion, required an awareness of and consideration for the needs and viewpoints of others. He could rule with compassion and wisdom by cultivating empathy, making sure that whatever he did served the interests of everyone. Marcus also firmly believed in the concept of group accountability. He was aware that the choices he made as a leader would affect many people, and that he owed it not only to his peers but also to future generations. His judgments and actions were driven by this feeling of accountability, which inspired him to lead with honesty and vision. In order to provide a good example for everyone around you, think about the effects of your choices and behaviors. Make an effort to live up to the principles you want to see in other people, whether you are in a position of official leadership or are just setting an example for your family or community. In your relationships, use self-control, humility, and empathy. Keep in mind that genuine leadership is about serving others and the larger good. By imitating Marcus Aurelius, we may rise to the position of leadership where we serve as an inspiration to others, have a beneficial impact on our communities, and leave a lasting legacy of morality and knowledge. Conclusion: the lessons of Marcus Aurelius, their persistent relevance. Stoic philosophy is the foundation of Marcus Aurelius' teachings, which provide ageless guidance for overcoming life's challenges. His observations on morality, leadership, emotional regulation, perception, resilience, and thankfulness provide insightful observations that hold true now, just as they did back then. We may develop an inner feeling of power, purpose, and tranquility by putting these teachings into practice in our own lives. We may develop the ability to lead honorably, overcome obstacles with grace, and live in accordance with our principles. The lessons imparted by Marcus Aurelius serve as a reminder that while we may not be able to control outside circumstances, we do have control over our thoughts, deeds, and reactions. With knowledge and morality guiding us, this insight enables us to lead more meaningful and fulfilled lives. The teachings of Marcus Aurelius provide us with a stable compass that points us in the direction of a resilient, contented, and morally admirable existence in a world that often seems chaotic and unpredictable. By accepting these lessons, we may improve as people, leaders, and members of the community, serving the greater good and discovering real satisfaction along the way.